be a survivor or like fighter. There's no fight. Like I want to be a thriver. So that's what mine says. It says breast cancer thriver. That is another thing on my to-do list. Chemo is another thing on my to-do list. I am living. Like I've chosen to wake up every single day and live. Instead of focusing on dying, I'm focusing on living. And that is what is going to get you through. That's why I don't look like a cancer patient, because I am living my life and I'm waking up every day and doing things that make me feel good and happy. And people forget I have cancer, and then I do too. And that's the best thing I could possibly do for myself.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of Life to the Max podcast with your hosts,
Jana Breslin
and Evan DeMarco. We've finally gotten that right after how many times?
say our names correctly now.
Yes.
It's working out well.
After 40 years, we figured out how to say our names.
We're doing good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so today we're in San Diego, and today we're meeting with one of my friends, Kamelia Britton, and so we've been friends about 1.5 years now. Not the longest, but we have definitely connected on many things, and I feel like we just get each other really well. And one thing that really stood out to me about you when I first met you was your mentality and the way you see the world, the way you see life, the way you go through life. And I always just really was very drawn to you and how you do that. I think one of the first conversations we had, we talked a lot about like manifesting, and also what's it called where you like vision boards. We talked about vision boards, and that I absolutely love that. And you create your reality, you create your life.
1,000,000% every
That's
day.
something that we love focusing on, because yes, I think we both come from health and wellness and fitness and stuff, but there's such a bigger part there that we think is missing, and it's this mindset, this mind, body, soul aspect that we really agree on and connect with, that you just totally embody. So that's why we wanted to have you on. And of course, you just had a very intense last year of your life,
to put it lightly.
Exactly. But I would love for you to tell our Life to the Maxers about yourself and just what you've been up to the last year or so, and even just leading up until that as well. I mean, you're an influencer as well. You're a travel blogger, so we also get same page there. But if you could just tell us about your life
in a nutshell. Yeah. For sure. I started out as in a small town in Texas, Orange, Texas. Did not have much as a kid. Came up from super humble beginnings. Got to be really street smart, how to make, something out of nothing all day, right? So I was like a little baby hackerette before like hacking was like a word, because I didn't really have, a lot. So it was like, how do we make something out of nothing and like get the best out of it? And so that was kind of my mentality by, trial by fire a little bit. And so as I grew up, I put myself through nursing school and things like that. And then I came out to California on my own. And then I really never had traveled as a kid, because we didn't really do those things, because we didn't have a lot of money and stuff like that. So I wanted to start traveling, and I just wanted to be like, well, what's over there? I was always very curious, like, what's over there? I need to go and see it and, see what's over there. And so then I went on my first big overseas trip in 2006, and I realized I like traveling, like who knew? And so then, I was 25 at the time. And so I went and did what anyone at 25 at the time would do, is like, how do I travel for free in Google? So I was like, Google has the answer, right? So I was like, how do I travel for free? Because I I was a nurse, had a decent job, but I wasn't rich by any means. So I was like, how do I do this? And so I learned about travel hacking. And then I realized, that, I can play this game and use this credit card and rack up these points. And then, and then I get to travel for free or for very cheap. Like,
were you ever interested in flight attendant, like being a flight attendant for the travel aspect?
Yes,
that's something
but I was already a nurse, so I figured like I had that part, and I just
Right.
wanted to travel, right? And so I was actually a travel nurse. That was my first how I got to California, so it was kind of funny. And then, I figured out how to do travel hacking, and then I ended up, starting my blog, building my course, doing Instagram. Got more popular, started taking nice photos and talking about my travels, and that happened. And so then I started back in 2016 before really the influencer thing kind of popped, so I was kind of there and rose with that. And then I, started getting noticed by brands and creating content and started working with, huge brands, was able to quit my nursing job and start traveling and doing full-time travel blogging. And so basically with hard work and dedication, I had created my dream life, right? So, 2019 started out with the boundless freedom of having created my dream life. And then in a new country once a month, making crazy amounts of money, having major deals, signing $40,000 deals. It was amazing. I've created my life.
Like the Ritz-Carlton. You worked with amazing, massive.
4 Seasons, Ritz-Carlton, GoDaddy, Facebook, Google, Coca-Cola, all the biggest brands in the world. I worked with them. So I was, killing it in life, right? And I was so excited and so happy. I was engaged to the love of my life. And what could be better, right? And so then July of this year, as I was at the peak of my entire life, I had found a lump and I found out that I had breast cancer. And so that just shifted everything for me. And so literally from, like I said, the boundless freedom to the ultimate restriction of being in the hospital, getting chemo, losing my hair, getting travel taken from me, my freedom taken from me, my time, just everything just ripped away from me overnight, and I had no choice in the matter or I could die. So it was basically it flipped my whole life on its head. And so I went into research mode again. And this time, instead of how to travel for free, this time was how do I beat cancer, So I was basically doing every single thing that I could do on my own, in addition to getting my chemo and treatments and things like that. So I thought, I'm gonna hit this from both sides. I'm a nurse, but I obviously believe in holistic health. So I did every single thing I could do. I researched everything online. I read hundreds of books. I basically doused myself in self-healing and from every which way. I was doing meditation, eating healing foods, just all these things. And the things that I discovered over and over and over in all these different unrelated texts, there was a common theme. So the common theme of, healing from cancer or helping prevent cancer in the first place was, obviously health and wellness, diet and exercise. That's one factor. And then the second one is mindset. We all know if you have a clean body and a toxic mind, it just doesn't work. And so then the third thing is purpose, a connection to your life purpose. A lot of times we're missing that. And if you don't have that drive and that connection to why you're actually here in the world, there's something missing. It can cause, something like a hole in your heart. And that, so it's those are the three things that I found. And those are the three things that I put myself through, bringing into my life. And it's been so powerful and amazing. I started chemotherapy on September 5th. And in only 2 months and only 6 rounds of chemo, my tumor was gone. So lots of people, and my tumor was 2.5 centimeters at its largest, and it was completely gone, maybe even before, because I never had another MRI before that 2-month mark, right? So it was completely gone. I couldn't find it. I'm a nurse, and I was looking at the report, and I was like, where are the measurements? I need the data, And they were like, well, it was very hard to see or measure, and I was like, I want to see the photo because, I need to see this. And so they ended up showing me the photo, and it's just not even there. It's just not there. So who knows how quickly it disintegrated. So I know a lot of people do chemo and it doesn't shrink, right? So I know that the things that I did supported me in every which way from all sides. And so this year and this decade, it's a new shift for me that I'm gonna be, I still love my travel. I'm definitely gonna be, creating programs and retreats about the mind, body, soul wellness, and just basically helping people clear their minds, heal their bodies, and connect with their purpose.
Right.
That's my big, goal for this year, and I'm gonna bring in my love of travel by doing retreats with it eventually. So
exactly. Which when she told me that, I was like, we might have a good little situation
we
here,
might.
because we I think I mentioned before this, but we have an idea for retreats and stuff in the near future here. So
Our first one's in June.
your first one's in June.
let
so
me
it's
know how I can help.
Yeah. So
Well, let's before we get to traveling the world and retreats, let's take a step back. So you've got the dream life, everything that you've ever wanted, and then you get this diagnosis. How do you recover from that? How do you even crawl out of the hole and begin a path forward?
Yeah, good question. It was a lot. So I got diagnosed July 12th, and I was right in the thick of, running a business and all these things. My life didn't just stop. It was still there. So, but I felt in the beginning, I didn't know what stage I was. I didn't know if I had 6 months to live. I had no idea. They don't know at first, right? There's a lot of testing.
You find the lump, you go and they're like, you've got breast cancer.
Yes. And so I was just like, and then I was like, well, what stage am I? We don't know. Well, we have to do more tests and stuff. And I had even a travel campaign in Geneva and Malta that I was leaving for in like 10 days. And I was like, can I still go on this trip? And they were like, well, it's only 10 days. Yes, you have plenty of time to do everything when you get back. And I was like, okay. So I don't know if this is like my last trip of my life. Like, I have no idea, what. It puts things in perspective. And so I went there and not so fun fact, when I got diagnosed, I was home alone. My fiance and his kids had gone to Israel to see his family, and I was going to catch up because I had some campaigns here to finish before I went. And so I was by myself for 10 days with this brand new diagnosis, and it was just gut-wrenching, and I just went down the rabbit hole of Google, and you go in this circular thinking that just never stops. And it was gut-wrenching and confusing, and just I was racking my brain. How did this happen? They can't tell me why. Most breast cancers are hormonal. This one is not. It's called triple-negative breast cancer, and it is this rare breast cancer that there's no known cause. So it's kind of like,
not a family history kind of.
There's nothing. All of my genetics were negative. Everything was negative. So literally, you're asking, what did I do so I cannot do that again? And they have no answer for me. So that's another reason I delved into diet, exercise, lifestyle. What can I do outside of like whatever? Because no one can tell me the cause. So went into, information gathering and just, also, and then wasn't ready to like tell my audience, I live my life on Instagram like you, and I wasn't ready to tell the world yet. I had to come to terms with, how do I feel about this? What am I going to do? Like, am I going to lose my hair? Like, I'm an Herbal Essences ambassador. Like, this is awkward, So, I mean, it was just so much, was just changing, flipped on its head overnight. And so I took 6 weeks to myself, and I wasn't posting as much. I wasn't sharing as much because I really had nothing to say at all. And I took some time away, and I think I posted a couple of times saying like, hey guys, sorry I've been distant, going through some things over here, gonna share soon, not ready, and didn't know how or what. There's no manual for like an influencer who has cancer, you know what I mean, how to like do this. And so I had to like forge through and figure it out on my own, and like where was I and everything. And so I also had some sponsored campaigns that I needed to respectfully finish before I announced it. I didn't want it to affect my clients, who have paid me in trust that I was going to promote their thing, and I didn't know what this was going to have effect. And so I had to finish those out. And the second I finished my last campaign, and I didn't take on any more for the time, the second I finished my last contracted campaign, the next day I made the announcement, and it was like, I considered hiding it. I tried on all options, right? And I was like, there's no way I can hide this or whatever, and nor do I want to, but I just felt, nothing felt right. Nothing resonated, right? But after the 6 weeks of kind of hiding it, because I didn't even tell a lot of my close friends and family, because my life is so public that if I tell one person, then it's out. Yeah, and so I didn't even go there. And so I felt like those 6 weeks, my soul was like bursting to get it out. You know what I mean? It had to come out of me, and I was like, I don't care what happens. I honestly have to say it, and it is what it is. And where it lays, but I had to come to that terms, and it took me some time to do that. And then things changed a lot, like people unfollowed me, it was shocking and heartbreaking. It was, and I try not to take it personal, but at the time I did. Now I'm like, whatever. But at the time, I'm already dealing with a cancer diagnosis. 30,000 people unfollow me. Thousands of people stop, connecting with my content. They stop liking and engaging with my content. It was heartbreaking. And so I was like, you know what? This is crazy. I didn't make a sex tape or murder anybody.
Right.
Like, I just got cancer, Right. So if and so I have to just say good riddance, to those people that don't support me for me. And so there's been a shift. I mean, it's polarizing content, right? And so I'm not able to go out and go float around in infinity pools for the moment. So, but life is a lot more than that. And so, when things got real, some people bailed, and that's fine. So,
Right.
And now the audience that stayed are just crazy loyal, crazy engaged, so supportive. And so I feel like I'm right where I need to be.
And those are the people that you actually want to follow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
A deeper connection there.
So I hate to ask this, and I think it's probably cliched, but you get that diagnosis. How do you feel?
Lost, confused. There's no manual. No one can tell you anything. No one knows what you're going through. You know, my fiance is the most loving, giving, caring man, but he has no idea how I'm feeling. He has no idea what it's like, you know, to lose all my hair. Like, this is a wig. This is a great wig. I love it.
It looks great.
Thank you. It's like exactly what my hair looked like before.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
It is.
People are like, your hair's holding on. I'm like, no, this is a wig. I just got really lucky. I'm like the hackerette, right? So I like hacked my perfect wig.
Right.
So, but you know, you don't know what it's like for a woman, especially a woman in the public eye who literally gets paid to make things pretty, you know what I mean, online,
right.
to basically lose all of her hair within weeks of being diagnosed, because you start chemo, you lose your hair within 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
You know, I do have to say, there was, as an outsider looking at your online presence and social media life throughout this process, there was something that I noticed there. And of course, there's dark, sad, uncomfortable, horrible days there. But there was also things there that I noticed where you were like, I'm gonna live so hard right now.
Yes.
You dyed your hair pink before it came out. Like, you were just like, fuck it, I'm gonna go for this. And
we
like,
did our bucket list.
No,
we did. I did a whole week of bucket list hair because I knew my hair was gonna go. So I was like, YOLO with my hair, right? So I like dyed it pink, and I did this, and I chopped it, and I did braids, and I did space buns, and I'm like, we should have had way more fun, like, you know? So, but yeah, so we did that, and you know, and then it went away, and then now I get to have all the fun with the wigs. I'm like, so I get to have purple hair one day, and today I have blonde, and the next week I have blue. I have 13 different wigs, so I get to be whoever I want to be, and I get to experiment with that. And it's all about mindset, right? Because I could sit there and be like, oh my God, I have no hair, which there's a part of me that went through that phase, right? Of course, I'm not saying like that wasn't hard. But it's crazy. I mean, you're going through this, you look in the mirror and you don't recognize yourself. You know, I lost all my eyelashes. You know, I thank God for strips, and like I got my eyebrows microbladed. Thank God for that as well. So I still look pretty normal, but if I hadn't been proactive in doing that, I wouldn't have any eyebrows right now, you know? And so there's just things that you have to do to kind of prepare, and then, but there's no manual on this, you know what I mean? You can just look at other people. And what I noticed whenever I was like just recently or just diagnosed, and I went online and I was looking on Instagram, and I saw all these people, and they were just unhappy, and there was a lot of victimhood, right? So much victimhood and survivor, even like the word survivor, sorry if I'm offending anybody, but there's a lot of victimhood to that, I feel. So I was like, I don't want to be a survivor or like fighter. There's no fight. Like, I want to be a thriver. So that's what mine says. It says breast cancer thriver, or thriving. I think it says now it's thriving beyond breast cancer. Like, that is another thing on my to-do list. Chemo is another thing on my to-do list. I am living. Like, I've chosen to wake up every single day and live. Instead of focusing on dying, I'm focusing on living. And that is what is going to get you through. That's why I don't look like a cancer patient, because I am living my life, and I'm waking up every day and doing things that make me feel good and happy, and people forget I have cancer, and then I do too, and that's the best thing I could possibly do for my cells.
I would say that you've always been very, you know, excited, happy, eager for life, just loving life in general, but would you say this has pushed you like stronger in that direction?
Absolutely.
Like, would you say that this has almost opened up a more positive door as well to see into that world a little harder, a little deeper?
1,000,000%. Yeah. When you get diagnosed, it rips a filter off of your eyes that you can never put back. I've looked at people when I was in Europe by myself, but still after 10 days of being alone, and I was up top in this train station, and I was looking down on all the people scurrying around in the train station, and I see the couple fighting, and I'm just like, stop. And I see the girl on her phone just sad, and I'm just like, it's gonna be fine. Like, you know, you see things so differently, and you cannot unsee, and you feel like you've been stricken from the sky with this lightning bolt of this disease that you can't go back. And so it really just rips a filter off your eyes, and you see things differently, and you see life differently, and you go, oh my God, I used to complain about a bad hair day. Now I don't even have hair. You know what I mean? Like, things just really shift in your perspective. And you know, the cancer that I had was triple negative, and there's a huge 5-year like fatality rate. Like, right, a lot of people don't live past 5 years, right? And so that was, you know, a lightning bolt to my soul. Of like, you know what, we're all gonna die, but no one thinks it's gonna happen to them, right? But we all are going to, and we all live in the denial pile of like no one thinks it's going to happen to them. And I don't know one cancer patient who thinks, oh, I totally knew that was coming. Not one person thinks they're going to get diagnosed with cancer, yet cancer is the most rampant thing ever, right? And so it's coming and it's here. We're all going to die, so how are we living? Like how, if I have 5 years or 50 years or 100 years, whatever, how am I using that time? How am I living? And so that's just the perspective that you have that you can't put back. And so for that, I'm grateful. It's also like repaired relationships, and you know, there's so many silver linings. I wouldn't wish it on anybody still, which is why I want to help prevent, but there are silver linings to it, and through your pain is your purpose sometimes, and that's how I found mine.
Your mess becomes your message.
Yeah, exactly.
So one of the interesting things that I wanted to chat with you about when she brought us the opportunity to talk with you, and thank you so much for being here and sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
Is it hard to relive that? Is it?
Not now. At the time, it was so hard. When I first got diagnosed, I had to tell each person, and telling a new person and a new person and a new person and a new person every time, you were re-traumatizing yourself with this diagnosis, and that was so hard. And so honestly, that was another reason I ripped the Band-Aid off and went global with it. And I announced it on every social channel. I was like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, because I was so sick of being re-traumatized, you know, by just continuing to have to say.
Because you're like, I have cancer.
Yeah.
Every time you're telling you, I have cancer.
And then everybody has their own reaction of like, oh my God. And then they're crying, and then you're having to console them. And you're like, I can't right
Like,
now.
wait, I'm the one with
Do you know what I mean?
cancer.
No, but everyone's having emotion because they love you and they care for you.
Right.
And that's a natural reaction. But it's very difficult to take on that energy.
Absolutely.
Especially someone, I'm very like empathic, and I connect with people's energy really strongly. And so for everyone to be like, have such pain, and everyone has such a different reaction. And it was just a lot to take on energetically. And so that's what I was like, here it is.
Yeah,
Here
right.
it is. Now you know, I'm gonna go in my little hole and just like relax.
See you soon.
Yeah,
With purple hair.
Yeah.
Right.
So you live a very public life, and a lot of that public life is how you look, and your identity is kind of tied to the success that you were so excited to create. So when you kind of go through this, does it give you a real shift in perspective of, you know, the exterior versus the interior?
Oh yes, of course. And I was always, as you know, before this happened, I was into interior, and like I was going, like I said, going to meditation retreats, and I've been doing like soul work and all this mind, body, soul, personal development
Right.
stuff since, gosh,
For years,
probably 2010 at
yeah,
least. You know what I
yeah.
mean? So I've been in this world for quite some time, but this just raises that to a higher level than ever.
Right.
Yeah.
So then you go through this, and you have this, outward kind of transition, you know, no hair, purple hair, all of that.
Yeah.
How do your sponsors react?
Yeah, that was interesting. At first, everything went super quiet, right? I had amazing hair. Actually, my hair was like down to my waist,
Yeah.
and there were no extensions, and it was thick, and it was just thick and full and gorgeous. I had great hair, and so
That's a Texas thing.
I don't know. Yeah, it was just like long and
What
thick.
are you guys
and-
drinking down there?
I don't know. Maybe it's like all the food or whatever. But basically, I mean, I used to get tons of hair deals, like herbal essences and stuff like that. So I couldn't do that anymore. Do you know what I mean? I can't be using all these hair products and things like that. So that was
Right.
like a big shift.
Right.
And then everybody sort of just went quiet for a bit. It just sort of was like, I think everybody was kind of like, well, who's gonna do or who's make the move? You know what I mean? I think everyone a little bit quiet, and then I had already been working with Frank Body, which they're the body scrub and whatever. I'd already been working with them, and we already had a relationship, and they had offered me something before I got diagnosed, and I had declined because I wasn't taking on any new until I kind of got myself sorted. And then I said, I'm not going to take it right now. And then after I had announced it, I came back to them and I go, you know what, if you guys still want to work together, I'm willing to like do it. This is a clean product. Because then I had to reassess, like, I only want to promote now things that are good, right? Things that are
Non-toxic, clean.
Yes, and before I was using the other stuff that was probably toxic because I just was unaware, blissfully unaware, right? And now I have this awareness I can't unsee, and
Right.
so I have an obligation as an influencer, online person, to promote things that are healthy and happy and good, right? And so I checked out Frank Body. Obviously, they're clean and stuff like that. And so I was like, you know what? I feel good promoting this. It's something that I do use and that I still feel like using. Mm-hmm. So I reached out back to them and they said, yeah, for sure. We're still down to work with you. We've loved working with you. I'm like, amazing. So then that was like, got me back working. And I think other brands saw like, oh, she's still working and whatever. And then more came, but more meaningful partnerships came.
Right.
So it was less
Quality
about
over quantity?
what is it? Yeah, quality. And that's all I wanted anyway. So it was great. And I mean, I was always really particular on who I would work with anyway. I was never just, I'd turn on so much junk. I'm sure you know. I mean, you're the same. And I would always turn on so many things anyway, but this brought even the quality even higher and the stringency, just even higher. And so, yeah, and then I actually got a campaign, a beautiful campaign with Forever Note, which is about telling my story and creating it into a keepsake book. That's the service that they offer. Anyone could tell their story and, put it into a keepsake book, and that's their service. And it's something, and they reached out to me and they said, we want you to be able to tell your story and then, do a campaign with it. And that was like a beautiful, meaningful campaign. And we did it for the holidays. What a meaningful gift to be able to have someone tell their story and create their story into a physical keepsake book for to give to their children or whatever.
Right.
So it was meaningful. So more meaningful partnerships have been coming. I would definitely say much less, but again, quality over quantity. So
I would love for you to go into the Love Ripple.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Because that's something that's really,
Yeah,
I think, been a very positive transition too for
Yes,
you, and I would love to
yes.
hear more about that.
Okay, so the Love Ripple. So there I am. I'm in it. I've lost all my hair. I wrote a gut-wrenching post about that on the blog. I'm in chemo. I'm sad. My life's been turned upside down. I can no longer travel. Just everything has changed. And then the chemo builds up in your system, and I kind of got this chemo-induced depression. It messes with your hormones, and you get something very similar to postpartum depression, right? So it was that, getting my lows, and I was trying to pull out of it with all my tools. And one day I was sitting in my chair, and I got a card, and it said "Chair Buddy," or something. And I was like, "What is this?" And I opened it up, and someone just had given me this card and just said, "Hey, I'm a breast cancer thriver," and they used my words. I was like, "Great, I'm a breast cancer thriver, and I wanted to send love to the next person who comes after me." And it said, "You were always strong, just now everyone else knows too." And I started sobbing because how true, they didn't even know who this was going to. They just left it in the chair. But then now everyone else knows too hit me to the heart because of what I do, my job. Everyone now knows, I'm physically showing everybody my whole journey, and it made me sob and tears, and it touched me in the heart so much. She left her Instagram on there, and I connected with her, and I was crying, and I said, "I just want to thank you for the card." And the card was what, $1, you know what I mean? And it was the priceless of just the feeling that it gave me of love. And so I said, "Thank you so much for what you did. It brought me to tears." And she said, "Will you pay it forward?" And I just said, "You don't even know who you just asked to pay it forward, because I will pay it forward times a million, as big as I can." And so she said, "Awesome, thank you." And so I said, okay. So I went on Amazon and I bought a stack of 200 cards, and I started getting little things I could do. And so I started writing out cards very similar. "Hey, I'm Kamelia. I'm a breast cancer thriver. Wanted to send love to the next person who comes after me. Know that I'm cheering for you and keeping you in my prayers. You've got this. Love, Kamelia, and here's my Instagram," and the Love Ripple, right? And I created an account, and I started sharing the Love Ripple, and I was and it was a give, receive, and pay it forward, right? So if they came to the account, they could be like, "Oh my God." And the amount of beauty that has come from this, and love, and just sending out good in the world, and we know that it's such a simple thing. And I started giving little gifts and roses and just little gifts and Bath and Body and little things, just to brighten their day. And people have just come over and found me at the infusion center, and I've just been telling the nurses, "Who needs this today? Who can benefit from this today? I have 3 gifts or 7 gifts, however many I have that day. Sometimes I bring 8 gifts, and I'm like, "Who needs this today?" And they're like, "Oh, there's a girl, she's having her first treatment." And I'm like, "I know how hard that is. Bring this to her." Or someone's going through this, or they got good news today. "Oh, good, this will reinforce that." You know what I mean? So we'll just kind of decide who, and I never know who they are. So she just it's like Secret Santa,
Yeah.
So I just send it over. And some of them don't say anything, they don't say thank you, and that's totally fine. It's not about that. And some come over, some message me or whatever, but so many people have been touched, right? So my purpose is to touch lives, and that's a way that I can touch lives, right? And so it's been this beautiful thing where people have come over and they've cried and they've hugged me, and we're both hooked up to our infusions, and so, but it's been beautiful. And then I've ended up making connections and stuff like that. And so I've continued to do it. I only have 2 chemos left. And so you know, my bigger vision for like the long term after I'm done is that I want to obviously build these wellness programs and wellness retreats and like revamp my business into this new path. And then eventually I want to turn the Love Ripple into like a nonprofit where I can really make patients smile by helping them pay their bills, because I know what it's like to be $40,000 in medical debt from cancer. I was debt free before, now I have all this debt. And so like talking about a little card making someone smile, like let's make someone smile with like helping fund their bills, because that's what they really need.
Right.
So I really would love to, like, my dream vision would be to like start a nonprofit with the Love Ripple and keep it going on a much greater level.
Right, especially because we know stress is such
stress
like
is
that
the biggest
affects
thing.
you on so many levels
Like,
of your
thank
mind, body,
God,
soul.
yes.
And
Yes.
if we can help eliminate the stress aspect, that will help healing as well, I believe.
100%. And you know what? It's the worst thing in the world to be like, thank God I work from home and I work for myself. It's the worst thing in the world to get a cancer diagnosis, not be able to work, and then get all this debt slapped on you.
Right.
Like, how stressful is that?
Absolutely.
Is that helping healing? Absolutely not. Right? So, and then, so I want to help in all the ways that I wish I had help. And so I'm going to pay it forward on the biggest level. So she picked the right person.
She did. She really did. Oh, that's just
So,
amazing. Yeah, I was going to ask about your, the next 5 years and what that looks like for you. So I think that those are all amazing. I can't wait to see that and help you any way we can too.
Thank
so.
you. Yeah, I just got to finish chemo. I'm still in chemo.
Yes. Two more.
Yeah,
Tomorrow,
16 rounds of chemo, surgery. It'll be my third surgery, and then 6 weeks of everyday radiation, and then I should be done.
Wow.
So yeah, crazy.
Amazing.
Crazy.
It is.
It is. It's a lot. Yep. I went through,
Thank you for sharing all this with us.
Of course,
I mean, I know when I first heard about your diagnosis, I was just sending so much love to you, and I was like, she is such an incredible human. She's going to turn this to be an absolutely amazing thing. I do. And I was like, I love this woman. She's just going to do so good with this, and I appreciate you doing what you're doing now.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like it was meant, because no one knows why this happened, right? And it's this unknown, like there's no root cause. And I'm like, you know what? Of course I get the rare cancer with no cause, because I think like through this I've learned maybe I was supposed to get this because I'm strong enough to make a change or a difference, and I'm strong enough to support like so many women that I talk to. I've been doing interviews of like how I can help, and some women, they can't look at Google because they start crying and they're traumatized, and I'm strong enough to look at it and go, okay, here's actionable steps that I can do and create programs and stuff like that. And I'm a lot stronger than the average bear, so it might be meant for me to have this so that I can do much more help, you know what I mean? Because my nursing background and just, everything I've been through in my life with just, hardships as a kid, this is not the worst thing that's ever happened to me. It's pretty bad, but it's not the worst thing that's ever happened to me. So, the fact that I'm strong enough to help and make a difference and guide people, from experience and just point them in the right direction, so.
You strike me as the type of person that if someone puts an obstacle in your way, you don't like find a way around it, you just run through it.
Yeah.
Like,
I
you're all
figured it
momentum.
out. I'm a problem solver. I was a neonatal intensive care nurse for like 17 years. So, I'm a problem solver, so critical thinking, figure it out, make it happen, not take no for an answer.
So that's actually a great point. And I think, I know you wanted to go somewhere with this, but we talk about Google, right? Or look at WebMD. I've got a hangnail that leads to death. Like,
Yes,
like,
exactly.
Like, I'm sneezing, you're going to die tomorrow. I'm like, Google basically will tell you that you're going to die.
Yes.
So how does the average person who is listening to this and might be suffering through a cancer diagnosis, or that could be something, how do you avoid going down that Google rabbit hole, which ultimately leads to the deepest, darkest place of you're going to die tomorrow?
Yeah. That's why I want to help, because it's difficult, right? Because there's no, I went down the rabbit hole, and then I realized I kept Googling the same question in like 900 different ways. And Google didn't know the stage that I was in. Google couldn't tell me which stage cancer I had. Google couldn't tell me what was right for me. And that's the disconnect, right? And so that's why I was like, I want to build these programs of like, here's the information, but then have like a weekly support call where, okay, here's all this information, but how do we work this into your life and your situation and your diagnosis, right? And I want to like give that support and like that, because it is so overwhelming. It's so overwhelming, and there's not that support going on so much. The medical field is really trying to like treat symptoms. Do you know what I mean? They're not trying to like go dig into you and go, do you know what, how do we get more veggies in your diet? How do we do that together? What are you actually eating? What will your kids eat? What will, you know what I mean? What are you actually going to do? You know, can you do a 10-minute daily morning routine with some gratitude, a little bit of meditation, and some affirmations? Can we mix that in? No one's doing that.
No.
So, you know, I
Well,
want to do that.
it's interesting. You know, at a medical conference recently, we were looking at, you know, at this point, cancer research is artificial intelligence. So we've got, you know, all these different types of cancers, all these different kinds of treatments, and throw them into an AI and figure out, when we look at your cancer, what's the best approach? But that's still just the medical piece. It's
For
treating the solution, you know,
we're
treating the
mind,
problem.
body, and soul.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you know, you remove all of those other elements, and you know, your probability of success goes way
Right.
down.
Exactly.
Yeah, how would you think about, you know, you go to the doctor, they say you have cancer, start chemo. I mean, we probably believe here that they should be integrating more methods there as far as the more mind, body, soul work there too. And I mean, how much of a difference do you think that would make in people's life if they also integrated these other more holistic principles into,
Yeah.
I mean,
I know.
I just think there's such a disconnect there where it's like, okay, just throw this medicine at it, or, you know, but they don't, I maybe I just don't know, but I feel like there's not much focus there on nutrition or thoughts.
They have a tiny amount. It's not enough. I think that there was like a 1-hour nutrition class that I attended.
Don't eat sugar.
Yeah, it was very basic, of course. You do get assigned a free kind of therapist, which is amazing. I highly recommend that. You know, and then there's also like kind of like you know, art, cancer for the arts, and there's things they're doing. I think that they're trying. I think there's an attempt there. Obviously, the biggest focus is on the medical and the, you know, whatever. There are certain supports in place. It could be improved, but until then, that's why I want to try to fill in the gap. Right. Yeah.
Well, and that's what I love about what you're doing, right? Because it's not going to be the medical community that implements those things. It's going to be people like you, right? Like, you know, if you take away all of the other work that you did, are you where you're at? And I think probably the answer is no. So we know that this stuff works. How do you find someone who's the ambassador for that and really, as you would do, knock down a wall to make it available to everyone else?
Exactly, and this is why I want to build that, because it's like there was this hole in the market of like, well, where is this? And it didn't exist for me. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, how can I make this available? You know what I mean? How can I teach these concepts and things like that? You know, and it can be for healthy people. It doesn't have to be for people with cancer or have had anyone who's like a busy person who thinks they don't have time for a healthy lifestyle. You do, but you can do it like this. You know what I mean? So it's like, if you're eating, you know, McDonald's every day, then we'll get you just to like putting in some more veggies or some frozen veggies or whatever is easy. But if you're already like at your level, then okay, we're gonna be. Everybody's on a different level. Right?
She does eat McDonald's every day.
No, but you know, everyone's
trying,
on a different level. You know what I mean? So it's like meeting them where they are, and you can't really do that without like a human touch. You know what I mean? Like without not necessarily touch, but like an online or whatever. You know what I mean? Some kind of like human interaction of support. So because people can read hundreds of books and not make any implementation, and then it's just not effective. You know what I mean? So if someone's like holding your hand and going like, not babying them, but like supporting them and saying like, what do you eat? If I give you a meal plan and this is like nothing it's too much. It's too overwhelming. Do you know what I mean? But it's you're like, what are you eating? Okay, let's take that away and add this. You know what I mean? Or like, let's just introduce a green smoothie every morning. Can we do that? Okay, we can do that. You know what I mean? But small lifestyle changes that have the biggest impact. And then slowly you're going to build more. And then you're going to stick with it. You're not going to do this dirty 30-day cleanse and be done, you know, whatever.
It's much deeper than that.
Yeah, it's much deeper.
And much more long term. It is it's truly lifestyle.
Exactly. And switching that mindset from like, it doesn't have to be hard. And to like, how can I love and support my body and cells today in the highest way? Yeah.
Well, I think the one challenge that we find with the medical community and even the support systems is that they always tell people they're wrong.
They're wrong?
They're wrong. It's like, oh, well, you've been eating this way. That's wrong.
Yeah,
so switch to this. And, you know, you can't. When people are told that they're wrong, there's an instant rebellion.
Absolutely. That's the thing. Like, so for me, my motto is like, there's no restriction. My heart, soul virtues are like freedom, right? I'm a traveler. Like, I need freedom. You tell me not to eat a burger, the first thing I'm going to do is go eat the burger. So like my thing
You
is
two are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now I get where the connection here.
Do you see why we're friends?
You're
I cannot.
anarchists.
Like, don't tell me what to do, right? That's why I'm like, how do we make it work, right? So
Right.
the thing is, it's not about taking away. It's not about restriction. It's not about taking away. It's about adding in. So once you're adding in, then you're going to crave more of the good stuff. You know this, you know what I mean? So you're going to crave more in. And once you're adding in, you're like, well, that felt good. Maybe this will feel better. Do you know what I mean? So it's that shift of that mindset that starts from there. And so restriction never works. It just doesn't. That's why diets don't work.
Right.
So it's like add in.
Right.
Okay, so I'll try that. And that's
Such
like,
a good way
when
to-
I say this to people, that a light bulb goes off and they're like, I can add.
Right.
That's great,
Right.
right? And then they're full and they're satiated because they have their vitamins and nutrients from their green smoothie.
Right.
And then they're like, maybe I'll have some more vegetables. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, it's just like, no restriction. We don't do that.
Yeah, exactly.
If you want to eat pizza with your family, you should do that. But I
Right.
will probably hopefully do that every night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for tuning into another episode of Life to the Max podcast with your hosts
Jana Breslin.
and Evan DeMarco. We'll have all of this incredible information in the show notes. Would love for you to follow Love Ripple.
Not nipple.
Love Nipple.
Yeah.
Love Ripple.
Mine's the Hackerette, and then
Oh.
Yes.
yeah,
Do that.
mine is at the Hackerette, and then the Love Ripple is
Yeah.
At the Hackerette and Love Ripple. That'll all be
Put
in the
all
show
that
in
in
the
the
show
notes.
notes. This is a journey that we really hope that you follow and support in any way that you can. So until next time, thank you very much.
Bye, guys. Thank you.